On the next episode of the Level Par podcast, we have a very special edition. I invited Marky and Jeff, two of my very close friends, onto the podcast to discuss their near-death experiences and how those stories shaped Jonesy's character in Level Par. It's a very long podcast with a lot of very deep things that we talked about from a very personal level with two people that I've known for almost 35 years, basically. So I really hope you enjoy the podcast and hope you enjoy the message that comes out of the words that Marky and Jeff have to say about life, about the experience that they had, and what it felt like reading Jonesy's character in Level Par.
All right, boys. This is an idea that I had in my head for maybe a couple months after I published the book, was to kind of get you two to, just talk about your experience. But, when I wrote Level Par, I was really thinking about you, Jeffrey, with the most recent thing that you had happened to you that we'll get into. But really, as I thought about the story and it developed, like Marky, like your accident really kind of came to the forefront. And, I wanted to get us together and be like, hey, listen, like maybe in 40 years when we're old, we can sit around and we can talk about what we thought about as fucking 40-year-old men. And why not just do this on a podcast and have this cemented forever? So thank you both for coming on. Marky, I want to start with you because your accident happened, what is it now?
Almost 10 years.
Wow.
It's a little over 10 years, yeah.
Crazy. So give us the details of kind of what happened to you, because I can give you like how I experienced it, but like we need your take on it.
Yeah, so June 11th, 2015, I was an elevator constructor and I was doing exterior hoist at Partners in Somerville, Mass. And the elevator collapsed while I was working on top of it. Rest in peace to Ron Morse, who didn't make it through the accident. But the ambulance took me to MGH. I had a traumatic brain injury. My forehead and left orbital were crushed, and my left shoulder had multiple fractures, and my ACL, MCL, and meniscus were all shredded. And then I kind of came to at Spalding Rehab a couple...
Use the notes.
So came to at like around the 26th. I kind of came to it at Spalding Rehab, and from there I just was told what happened and kind of had to just rebuild from there. It was pretty crazy. Near-death experience, but the rebuilding was a wild thing. I had to rebuild my body, speech therapy too, and just kind of learn how to walk and run. So it was a crazy experience. Happy to be here, and with the brain injury, happy to get back to being Mark Praich. I've known you guys since 7th grade.
Yeah.
So being able to get back to that guy is a huge plus, and I'm happy to be here, happy to be able to function. But
Well, it was crazy. Like, so to paint the picture a little bit more is like, so you're 4 stories up basically, right?
Yeah, 40 feet.
40 feet. You're in this elevator shaft.
I was actually exterior. So,
You were in exterior? Okay.
So when they're building new construction, it's that
The cement.
on the side of the building, they have like the 2 cars that go up and down.
Yeah.
It was one of those. So an exterior hoist.
And so it wasn't like there wasn't this like freak like wind accident. This like it just was an accident.
There was 2 bolts that were used in structural rigidity were left out. So on one side, when one car went down, the car is still being raised up because it wasn't balanced. It kind of just went over. So
you fall like 40 feet basically inside of an elevator.
I was on top of the
top
box,
of it.
and so it was all the machinery and myself and Ron, who was next to me. Yeah.
Were you working on the elevator
Yep.
itself?
We were
making
putting
it.
up the next
Gotcha. You weren't on it to get somewhere. You were just on it to do things with it.
We were building it up so it could go up the next floor
Yeah.
because they had finished the lower floor and they would.
But I remember getting a phone call and just being like, yeah, Marky was in an accident. And I think I remember like watching it on TV, and then they told me like that was you. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? How? And then in my head, I'm like, well, Mark Prach is a pretty fucking athletic kid. He's kind of a ninja. I've seen him jump off things into pools and like contort his body.
I was like, did he land on his feet?
Yeah.
I bet he landed on his feet.
I'm like, if there's anyone who's gonna like do all right with this, like it's got to be Marky. And then when I saw you at MGH and realized, I think I came like the next day just because of the craziness of like how many like your family were in and out of there. Like you were just very banged up, and it was fucking hard to see because I'm like, wow, like this is life and death right here, and it was pretty touch and go there for a little bit, and you don't really remember much from that like 2-week period.
No, so from the day of the accident, I remember coffee that morning, and
That was it.
that was it. I remember chatting because we were getting the delivery for the sections to put up, and that's it. And then like the 26th, I kind of came to in Spalding Rehab in my bed. Seinfeld was on the TV, and I kind of just, the fog of war kind of was erased.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it was just, that's when so that about 2 weeks-ish, I have no clue, but I guess I was interacting. I was up with a cane, walking around, trying to move. I'm so thankful for being by MGH and Boston Medical. Thank
goodness.
Thank
my
God, and I
goodness.
thank them with my life.
Oh.
You know, like I'm here because of them, and it's just, I sometimes I think about it and I still can't get over how crazy the situation was and how blessed I am to be here
And healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, you alluded to before, like there's a lot of people who experience brain injuries at that level that never, whether they like lose function or they lose just pieces of who they are. And Marky, you're like, you're everybody out.
You're almost
every
better.
piece. You're a much better version of your.
sarcastic guy. So,
Yeah.
but it was when I was at rehab and stuff, they would get people from the floor together to kind of just interact with other people on the floor, and we would go around the circle and people would say, this happened or that happened, and a couple people, they took some falls from like the first step or the bottom rung of a ladder, and they like were paralyzed from the waist down. So
By the grace of God.
I couldn't say, when they said, "What's your injury?" I'm like, "Oh, I tore my ACL." Like that's what I left it at, and my head was banged up too. But I would just leave it at that because I didn't feel right saying what happened to me, and then the guy fell 6 inches and now he can't walk. I'm like, so I kind of just said my knee, soccer injury. Yeah. Can't bend it anymore.
Well, that was nice of you. I mean, but yeah, you think, how lucky you are. That's a good way to put it. This guy fell 6 inches, you fell 40 feet.
Yeah.
And you're here.
It's wild. And Jeffrey, I want to start getting to you because this is what, are you 3 years away from that?
Yeah, it's been 3. It'll be 3 this September.
Yeah. And so like the best friend in the book, I kind of like started crafting him after Walshy. Actually, when I showed you my original writing, like I used Walshy because it was just easier for me to write it. And then I'm like, well, I can't give it to, like, I gotta put a different name on there. And so Jonesy kind of came to my head. But your story was, similarly traumatic to Marky's because like it just happened in the blink of an eye. And like, tell us about like what happened.
Talk about trading war stories, right? No, but there's,
So I got this one.
well, hearing you, like, our injuries or what happened to us is completely different, but I just like heard so many similarities to what you had to go through. For me, it was a different path to the hospital. Yours was fast and mine was slow. So I was at a Major League Soccer game, New England Revolution game. We went to Gillette Stadium. I was feeling a little under the weather before we went. My wife was like, why don't you just stay home? But it was our son's first time going to Gillette. I'm like, I got a little cough. I have like a, I'm whatever sick. I have a little bug going on. I'm fine. I'll go to the game. So we go to the game. I'm feeling like shit, but I, dealt with it, whatever. We get in. About halfway through the game, I'm like, it's getting late anyway. The kids, it's late. Let's just get out of here. Let's go home. My wife's like, yeah, you look like, I just didn't look good. I just looked sick. Yeah. So she's just like, yeah, let's get out of here. And I have a vivid memory of like walking back to the car, which is a long walk at Gillette Stadium. And I'm holding Declan at the time, who was probably, 3. And usually I'm fine. He's light, I'm walking, whatever. And I just couldn't keep my breath. I just like couldn't catch my breath. I'm just walking back, like, why am I so out of breath? I'm, in good shape.
For everyone, Walshy was a soccer player in college. We ran a marathon together.
Yeah,
This is not a kid who should be out of breath.
Should not be out of
walking.
breath.
Right.
So that was a kind of a red flag. So we get home, it just kind of gets worse and worse. And my wife, who's a nurse practitioner, said, we need to, like, you just don't look good. You keep, like, I don't like the way you look. And but I did not want to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, no one does. But thank God she did. Yeah, I don't want to go to the hospital right now. It was like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. My mom came over, she took the kids, we went to the hospital, and they brought me into the emergency room. And I remember the doctor coming over to me, kind of like, worried, they took an x-ray of my lungs and saw that I had my lungs there was a bacteria, there was a pneumonia. So they asked me a bunch of questions. They started treating me with antibiotics. They wanted to know like how it happened, if, I had traveled and ate something, or if I had inhaled anything, or how did I get this bacteria in my lungs, because they needed to know how to treat it. Yeah. So they just kind of gave you broad antibiotics and hope that it would work, but it didn't. My oxygen levels just kept getting worse and worse. So that was Saturday night. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday was when a nurse called my wife. She was at home with the kids and said, listen, we need to get him intubated and to Boston, because it's only getting worse. And if it does get worse, then he can't travel, and we'd rather get him to Boston. So at that point, they intubated me. And I remember being at the hospital in Plymouth, bits and pieces, not really. I remember having the mask on, but unfortunately, I don't remember the helicopter ride. I really wanted to be like I've been wanting to go in a helicopter my whole life. How cool would that be? But
Not in this capacity.
no. So that Tuesday morning, they intubated me and got me into the ICU in Boston. And at that point, I was out and in a bed for 7 days. Just getting fed intravenously, just kept alive by the machine. So I'm sitting there asleep. It was way more harder on, I think, my family, my wife, everyone that had to deal with me being there looking like that. For me, I was just sleeping, so it wasn't, I was just, I don't know.
Not here, so yeah.
So yeah, that must have been so hard on them, just like it would have been on your family, to see you like that, and just praying every day that you get better. But there's
that I live.
That there's a chance, or that you come out the same, or that I come out the same person. But yeah, I remember waking up. They took that out. I remember them taking that in the tube out, and it was like, oh my, yeah. I mentioned it was,
we used to say that earlier. I was like,
it was like Neo in the Matrix, came out, and I'm like, and I remember it was in the middle of the night, and the nurses are unbelievable. Like, they just like, I'm blown away at what they do, and they do that like day in and day out. They take care of people that are on their deathbed. That's their job. Like, that's insane. But yeah, I remember calling Brittany, my wife, like FaceTime, and seeing her just being like, oh my God, you're awake. Yeah, and then from there was another week in the hospital of just trying to get my strength back. I lost like 20 pounds. I don't. Did you lose around that? Like after that, when you
and then not being able to move and not really wanting to eat for a while.
So same thing.
I lost my appetite, so I did lose weight. Yeah,
I lost like 20 pounds. I remember like trying to get out of bed and I couldn't move. Like my muscles didn't work. The atrophy. Like I couldn't walk. I needed a walker.
Yeah.
You had to learn how to walk again. That was bizarre.
Like humbling in a way. Is that a word for it?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Are you scared at that moment? Like, what are you kind of feeling during that period? Because you don't know if you're going to get back to where you were.
Right. I guess all you want to do is get back to where you were. Like that's all that you're focused on is like getting back. And these doctors or these nurses are amazing, and they're going to tell you how to do it, and you're just going to like listen and follow their directions and just get me out of here. That was like get me home to my family. I couldn't see my kids because I didn't want them. My wife didn't want them to see me like that. I didn't want them to see me like that. Declan was only 3 at the time. Bridget was only a baby, so I wasn't worried. She had just been born like that summer previously, so she was only months old. So I'm like, she's not gonna remember this anyway. But I'm like, Declan probably is missing. Like, it was hard to like not be around them, and that was like my goal to like get back to them, and like I will do whatever it is
to get back to where I was, and I just would push it. And if they're like, all right, well, you gotta be careful, and don't really do that. Like, all right. I don't know if you knew me before, but you tell me not to do something, and I'm gonna do it.
Yep.
So like, once I was able to jog and start running again, I was running around Quincy, and I was walking. I was going to Quincy College, so I was walking just to and from school, uphill both ways, so I could use that in the future. On my kids, I used to walk. So there was a route. There was a route uphill both ways, But yeah, it was just like I had to, right after we get somewhere, and if there were stairs there, like everyone would be like, oh, go ahead. But I'd say, no, you guys go ahead, and I'll be the caboose and bring up the rear. And so like being able to, once I got the okay to take my brace off every day, and my knee was doing well, and I was running again. And it was...
It's like a new outlook on like life and what it is to run and what it is to walk and be healthy.
The fact that I could, and I was there, and I got back to that point, it just felt so good because the rebuilding phase, it was scary too, is because like, walking around with a walker, or walking around with a cane, like...
You shouldn't be doing that at 35 years old.
Yeah.
Or 30 years old, basically.
Yeah.
You just turned 30. And you shouldn't be living like that
I remember in the hospital when the physical therapist would come around and be like, are you ready to like get out of bed? I'm like, I've been waiting for you all day. Like, I want to get out of bed. I want to walk where you want me to walk. Do you want to go up the stairs? Yes, I want to go up the stairs. Like, that was the goal. So it's like,
I would be sitting in a chair instead of laying in bed too. And they're like,
just to be sitting
in bed.
Up.
And I'd be like, no, well, I'm like waiting. When I was in Spalding too, like in-house, I'd be like, all right, I'd just get up and go do laps.
Yep.
And then come back and sit in the chair, and they'd be like, oh, you should get in bed. I'm like, okay. But I wanted to move. I wanted to leave. Like, I wanted to leave, and being TBI Mark, I was like, I'm good. Get me out of here. But like, no, buddy, you almost died 2 weeks ago. Like, relax.
Right. And then don't do too much.
Rebuild. And so once I was able to, once I got discharged, I was with my parents, staying with them for, I want to say like a week or two, because there was anti-seizure meds that I was on because of the accident. And once that was good, I went back to my apartment with my buddy Mark Woolard, and
that must have been a great feeling to get back.
Yeah, it was great. And you know what?
To find some kind of normalcy, or like just get back to even just sitting in your chair while like playing video games or something like that. Like that's like what you want to do. Like I just want to get back to the
just being home. Like it's just that feeling. I remember when I first walked into my house and hugged my kids, I just laid on the floor, the rug, and just touched everything. It was just like I made it home. It was the greatest feeling. I remember in the hospital too, like speaking of like just wanting to do stuff, I had to walk around, I had an oxygen tank next to me on like it had wheels on it. So it had to, because it had to be hooked up to my nose.
Yeah.
So I'm walking around this hospital with like the gown on and I'm dragging around this oxygen tank and they were looking at me like, yeah, and they're clapping. I'm like, let's go.
Like,
Get me out of here.
Perspective on health.
Oh yeah.
Like, does it change everything? Like once it happens.
For
to
sure.
both of you?
Yeah. I mean, my habits have slowed down. This is probably my first beer in maybe a week. Since last weekend, I might have had a couple beers, but I don't drink that much. My smoking habit has lessened, but I still, some people smoke 2 packs a day, and I smoke a joint.
Yeah, come on.
It's okay. But
you're more conscious of it, right?
Yeah,
like,
I am, and like my health, I started working out again, walking, and just because movement is essential in life. And
when you lose it all,
Yeah.
like we lost all of our muscle mass.
Yeah.
I've been able to do like 8 to 10 pull-ups my whole since elementary school. I've always made sure I couldn't do 1 pull-up. I got home and I hung on it and I sat there and I'm like, I can't even do a pull-up. I could barely do a push-up. So like rebuilding that made me understand like how quickly it came back, thankfully.
Yeah.
Like,
the fact that you wanted to get better and wanted to get back there, like really, because some people, things happen and they just cash out, like, oh, this happened to me, I'm gonna use this as a crutch, and it's an excuse, like, oh yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, like, oh, woe is me, and this happened to me, so I can't do anything anymore. And the fact that both of us had that mentality to just get back at it, to get back at life to where we left it, and being able to do that, physically and mentally, and it's just,
that was so important to me. That was
have
just to get back to being who I was.
You have like a young family, you're like, you don't want to be the dad who can't like run around with Declan, or like teach him how to play soccer.
I did struggle with being back home and not being able to do the simple things around the house. Lift the bags of the laundry, do something, grab whatever, pick up the kids, bring them to bed. I couldn't do any of that, and it was hard to like be patient with that. And like you're just used to taking care of things and like being, the heavy lifter and doing whatever you have to help with anything, and I couldn't, and I felt so helpless, and that was hard to deal with emotionally. Like, struggled with
having
that.
those people around you,
oh my God,
must have, because I know my family and Leslie and Willard was living with me, so like I thank them, and I will say it again, I thank them so much for helping me get back to where I was, because they knew what happened and how it affected. So if I was snarky or quick to say something, I always would catch myself after the conversation, be like, I'm sorry, that was wrong of me. So they were able to understand the situation, but having them was such a big thing, because Vin Diesel couldn't have said it better, but family.
Yeah, no, I mean, to use this to shout out to my family, like, they are the reason I got through that.
Yeah.
Like, my,
You're Walshy, you got to get through. I'm preach. We're gonna get through it.
But just having my family in the hospital for that week that I was struggling with, I haven't even mentioned the amount of drugs that they had to sedate me with for that whole week was basically opiates and fentanyl and all the drugs that they had to keep me from waking up. I had to get off. And I couldn't sleep probably for 2 to 3 nights. And that just like, I mean, my family couldn't be there in the middle of the night, but I was losing it. Like, I literally was like, I know what drug addicts like have to go through now, and I feel so bad for them. Like, it was a nightmare. Like, it really was hard to, like, those 2 to 3 nights of just no sleep,
Detox, yeah.
Detox. And, you know, in the morning, I knew my family would at least come to, you know, I knew my mom, my wife would be there, you know, my sisters, brothers, like they would come, and that would just help me so much.
They
So
wanted
it was
you to
just,
get better just as much as you wanted to get better.
Exactly,
So that was
exactly.
a big thing.
And it just puts in perspective like how much family is
Making
important.
time
And it
for
sounds
family,
cliche, but like in the end, like that's all you have. Obviously close friends, but your family is like your support, and like without them, I would have lost it. I really would have. I remember calling my wife in the middle of the night and just like, she's like, and I'm just, I don't even want to say I don't even know what I was saying to her. It was so like, you know, and she's, it was wild.
I mean, I think about, like we talk about like family, but like our friend group, we've been through some shit.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Like we have
Pretty
been through some
solid
shit.
for
Probably since
97.
18, yeah. We've been like
Seriously.
since, you know, since PJ and Mike passed, like since we're 18, 19 years old, you know, and then Frank and like all these different things. Like we've seen a lot of adversity. And I just remember from like, I mean, from both of your scenarios, I'm like, I just don't want to lose another friend. I really don't. I don't want to have to go through this fucking shit again. And
it's like it almost like it'll break you. Like, you know,
exactly.
Not again.
How much more?
Not again.
How much more?
Yeah, it's like a not again thing. And it's like different phases of our lives. Because like, I think about like PJ and Mike, we're young. And like all of us, it's like we probably should have done things a little different post and like, you know, been better to ourselves. But we're fucking kids. Yeah. And then Frank's what, like 6 years after that or something like that. And like, you know, I just remember being at Frank's funeral and it just felt so eerie. It's like it's like we just did this. Like what is fucking happening? And then in the next iteration of our lives, as in our 30s and then, you know, 40s, like the two of you, those things happen. And it's just one of those things where you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is going on? I just don't want to go through this again. And so like, I'm just so grateful that both of you fucking guys are here.
Me too.
You're welcome.
Thanks for playing. Thanks for playing. No, so Level Par, obviously a book that I wrote, more than just a golf book. I think like a lot of people are like, what's a book about? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like you just gotta read it.
Yep.
Like you gotta read it and go. But you know, I remember writing it and wondering what I was gonna use as a catalyst for this character to start getting their life back. And when I originally thought about writing the book, it was a story about a guy who went through COVID and came back and found a love for the game of golf, just like people started doing things that they hadn't done before. And I'm like, I'm fucking done with COVID. I don't want to write about COVID. I don't want to do a book about COVID. No thanks. But then like, I just remember the feelings of the stuff that you were going through, and I didn't get a chance to see it in the hospital because I think it was like it wasn't right after COVID, but like you just had enough family in there.
Same.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna go
every day.
I'm not gonna go be another
like
person who's just standing there looking at Jeff, right? Like I will be there if you need me to be there, but like you got a whole group of Walshies that are there, and like and everybody's feeding us information. Like, because I remember when we were going in to go see you, the nurses were so overloaded because there was like 5-6 people coming in to see at a time, and you probably don't remember any of that, but like I just remember looking at the nurses and they're like, we need you guys to leave. This is not helping in any capacity. So when I started writing the book, I used like your story, but then I really used like your, like how I interacted with you in the hospital and like coming to see you a couple times and being like, there's got to be something through all this pain that we've had in our lives, and how can we bring something out of that in a way? And it was, I don't know, I had this like weird feeling. I'm like, I don't want to like glamorize their stories, but like, how do I honor it in a way?
Yeah.
And
Use life.
And as a writer, sometimes you just got to write what you know. And that's just the way that it started going about the book. So for people who haven't read it yet, it's a story about a guy, Jake Stedman, who kind of loses his way in life. He was a very good junior golfer. And then through a series of circumstances, his buddy Jonesy gets sick and he has to come back to the Massachusetts area. And and start to get his life back as Jonesy gets his health back as well too, and their stories kind of intertwine. And the whole time I'm reading it and writing it and doing it, I'm thinking about both of you guys, and that's why I wanted you here on the podcast today. But I wanted to get your take on the book. Jeffrey, I know you just plowed through it, so I'll start with you. It's fresh in your mind, but yeah, what were your takes on reading that and almost reading your story just as much as you're kind of reading mine?
It was so cool because I know you so well. So to just like read your words and it be so professional and so well written, gave it an extra, like, you know, I'm reading a book, I don't know the author, like, personally.
This is my buddy.
Yeah, this is Tommy's, like, you know, and so I was excited to just get into it, and then once I did, I couldn't put it down, and I loved the character. I loved how Jake, you know, went to Florida, similar to you know, after college, trying to find his way, but got lost and just hit the booze. And I love how you went dark, you know, and you needed to go, you know, hit rock bottom, you know, and for him to come out of that, because his best friend is in a life-threatening situation, that's a way better to me than COVID. You know, this is a real thing. This is his best friend, and he hasn't talked to him in a long time. And his best friend's wife, who I loved you named Bree. Yeah. I was like, that's awesome. And she was so cool in the book, and I'm like, that's awesome. And she was so supportive and kind of, I was like, this is exactly like how. But yeah, so what a great like choice to have him have to get sober while his friend's on a death, like, you know, fighting for his life. Sure. Yeah. It's like he's fighting for his life, like so should you know, like, and the way he got sober to me was awesome. In the way that Jonesy got sick, it brought back so many memories, you know, of being in the hospital and having my family there and having my wife, you know, can someone go home and take care of the kids and come back, and like, you know, just balancing it all.
She's like quarterbacking everything.
In that, and then I'm picturing, man, imagine if like one of my, you know, that type of situation, like, I'd be so proud of a friend that like got sober that way while I, you know, like, so like it was just such a good way of connecting that. So that was awesome. And then the comeback story, just really well written, man. I was like, congratulations on everything. I haven't talked to you since like I really got I was waiting for this. But no, it blew me away.
Bottle it all up.
I want to know where Jake Stedman goes. I want to see under par. The next one.
I mean, there's so much.
I mean, it left you hanging, and
without giving away the ending.
I really
so much, like, I don't know what's people have like everyone's been like, you're gonna write another one. I'm like, I don't know. This took like almost 3 years of my life to do. This wasn't just something that I came up with and it was like, it took me about a year. No, it started in my brain during COVID because, I mean, Jeffrey, you knew me as someone who played golf and both of you guys knew me as someone who played golf as a kid, and then like you personally saw the struggle that I had to even get back in the game, to try and play golf again, to try and hit driver. You'd be like, you know how to do this, and I'm like, I don't know how to fucking do this. I don't, and I'd have like true anxiety and true feelings of like, I don't want to be out here. Yeah. So I was just like, never play golf again.
It wasn't fun anymore.
It wasn't fun, right?
It wasn't fun for me, and people are like, it's just make it fun, and I'm like, it's really hard to want to be very good at something, fail at it, and then try and keep going back to it and being like with a smile and being like, yeah, we're all having a blast, and I just.
And I have like vivid memories of us being out there, and you weren't having fun. Yeah. And I knew in that moment that like trying to talk to you wasn't gonna change anything. That was like, you know, so it was like hard to play with you sometimes because I didn't want to see you like that, you know. And I was like, he's got to not be serious. He got to not take this as serious. And I'm just so happy that you've completely turned around. Yeah. Like now you're someone I love to play with, and the attitude that you have of.
I like playing with myself too. I was like, no, but it is like even like today. Yeah, today, like today, I played golf with like 3 random guys that I met today, and like it was more of like a business opportunity to meet people. But I couldn't imagine if I was still like getting angry or stuff out there. I wouldn't be able to compose myself, and it's like I probably wouldn't have gone and played. Yeah, I wouldn't have gone and played. Yeah, and it's just like no, well, just go have a good time, have a blast, and like I didn't play all that great, but like I had a fucking good time, and that's just and I do feel like because of the time I put into it, eventually, this is an infinite game that I want to play. I want to play this game for the rest of my life. And like, maybe I'll break 80 a bunch of times and like, maybe I'll be able to play in a tournament or something like that, but it doesn't have to happen. And that's kind of what I wanted to convey in this book is like, you know, you can have an idea, you can pursue something, but you got to keep showing up to fucking do it. If you just stop, you're always going to be a failure. Right. So, but no, I mean, yeah, Marky, for you, like I think you told me, you texted me a couple times when you were reading it. You were reading on a flight, and you kind of got into it. And I'd love to hear your story on digesting that book.
Yeah, again, Tom, it was incredible. As one of my closest friends, reading it, like Jeff said, like the story, the character, Jeff said a lot of it, the story, the characters were all great, and the arc of Jake was awesome, and there were subtleties throughout that kind of, wait a second, did I really just catch that I come back around to? But I thought it was awesome, and then the situation involves a hospital. A lot of that hit really close because, you know, I caught wind that Jonesy was kind of modeled after Jeff's incident. And so all this stuff in the hospital really hit close to home. And I'm on a flight to Tennessee with my wife to go see some friends. We're on the tarmac, haven't even taken off, and I'm like tearing up. I had to stop, take some breaths, because I was like, oh, I can read it when we get there. And I'm like, I can't stop. But it was just so good. And then you told me at the signing, it was modeled after our interactions during my accident. And I'm tearing up now, but I get it. And it hit so close to home because it was reality. And
it's heavy.
Yeah. But it's what you knew, and you had been through it, and the way you put it on page was
blew my
right
mind.
now.
Yeah.
I'm tearing up again because it was just so well done, such a good story, and to see how it affected him and how he is able to become what he becomes is great.
When you think back at those times when you're literally struggling to get out of a bed and your life has been flipped upside down out of nowhere, you know what I mean? You're 1 second on a job and the next second
coffee, the
gone.
bed.
And I'm 1 second like
you had a soccer game.
I'm like all of a sudden a day later I'm getting in like, and then your family, and it's like just it's you look back on it and go, holy shit! Thank God, you know, for everything. Like, so many things had to go right
for us to
still be here.
Yeah.
And to have this, like, for you, Tommy, to kind of use it as like a, you know, catalyst for your book. We're honored by that. Like, don't ever think that 100%. Like that was like no, that's so cool that you used your own life experiences, and like, you know, that's what made it so real. And I think that readers will think that too. I mean, because it is.
I mean, it's
so real.
authentic at the end of the day. Like, this is what, and it's been really cool to kind of see other people react to the book. You know, I talked to a guy today on a podcast who kind of took the approach like he had a tough time with substance uses and things like that, but he was a very good golfer. So he's like, I just felt like I was reading a story about myself. And it's like, I wrote it with so many different kind of avenues for the reader to take it in. Like, you didn't have to be about golf for it to touch you like that, right? Like, it just was, it was one of those things that I'm like, how do I write this
The
for a
story
mass
about
audience?
Jake Stedman.
It's a
And
story
he
about
happened
a
to play
guy.
golf.
Yeah, and he happened to play golf. I mean, my favorite movie of all time is Rocky. Like, I don't think Rocky is a
It's
boxing
my
movie at all.
favorite movie of all
It's
time. I
fucking
swear
great.
to God, it's my favorite
it's
movie.
my favorite fucking
Whoa,
movie.
the
because-
Mummy, the first one? Brendan Fraser?
Brendan Fraser?
Come on, guys.
The Rocky's story, and as it plays out over the whatever 8 fucking movies he ends up having, is like it's about the guy, and then you see his maturation from there to where he was at the like Creed 2. It's like you follow a person through life, and I don't know if Jake Stedman's story is done, but I know that in this like capacity of level par, it might be, and who knows where it goes. Without giving away the ending, because I don't want anyone to know the ending until they read it.
Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away, but I do want to talk about like everything.
No,
but
sure.
I'm not,
Like, what do you got? Like, I know you had
quick
asked me about
reads.
like some questions on like how do I write this friggin' book, and like it was piece by piece. It was, I was a sports writer. You guys knew how much I loved fucking writing, and I let that go because of reasons that I just wasn't making any money anymore, and I just didn't see the benefit of giving away like all my free time and all my life to something that was paying me like $33,000 a year. And it's like, I'm grinding at this, and everyone's like, you look like you got the fucking dream job. It's like, no, I'm fucking miserable.
Yeah.
but at the same time too, like
I
that
was
job
building-
probably gave you
It
a
gave
lot
me
more
the-
skills and the ability
Yeah,
to
like,
write.
What
without-
got you to here?
Yeah.
I don't think I could have wrote this book without the journey that
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been on, or
Yeah.
that you guys have been on,
Yeah.
or that we've been on as a friend group. I mean, like I just, everything always goes back to like.
You can feel a lot of it in level par too. Is some of the situations. Was I there in the background?
Yeah.
Like, and read.
We did a lot of stupid shit.
Knowing you and
Yeah.
reading it, that's why I was. I had those thoughts. I'm like,
I know. What was he thinking when he wrote this?
all
Or how was
right,
he-
all right. Can I
I
meet
think
Jake
about the past a
Stedman?
lot. Yeah, I think about the past a lot, and I think about the man that I am now, and like I'm not proud of a lot of shit that I did when I was younger. I'm just really, I'm not overly proud about how I handled myself, how I.
You can't make
But you can't go back and like I don't regret it.
right. You learn. Make
I
mistakes.
mean, there are
you
things that I
learn.
wish I did differently, and ways that I wish I handled myself differently. But like that was the environment that I grew up in. That was the situations that I had, and I had to figure out how to become just a better man. And
It helped you become
I think it did. Yeah,
that better man.
After-
Those
yeah.
situations helped you get to where you are, and life comes at you unexpectedly, and 1 minute you're having coffee, and then next minute you're in a bed watching Seinfeld, saying, "Where the fuck am I?" Or you're at a Revolution game, and then you.
Wake up a week later.
Yep, it's just.
And you can't move.
Life is crazy and not planned, and accidents happen, and situations like this happen. And Jeff, I'm so glad that you and I are here, and you're the same guy that I grew up with. I'm glad that I was able to get to be the same guy that I feel you guys knew growing up. And the voyage is crazy, and Jake has a great voyage as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, when we were talking about like how did I come up with characters and stuff, I mean, everybody, myself, I am Jake Stedman. I think LJ asked me.
100%.
He's like, who is it? And I'm like, dude, it's me, man. I mean, like, yeah. I'm like,
I was wondering when you went to Florida, I'm like, did he really get into some shit? Like,
yeah,
did he really?
I mean, but I think we all did. We all dabbled in that.
yeah.
I mean, I remember the first.
Were you the one egging him on to do another
Yeah.
this or that?
Well, I mean, that first fucking year
That
at
asshole
Westfield.
Mark Brachin.
That first year at Westfield, like we were just hanging out with your brother and the older kids.
Oh
and,
yeah,
like, I feel like I grew up.
Seniors. So you guys
Yeah.
were freshmen.
I grew
hanging
up
out with all the
like,
seniors.
way quicker than everybody else,
Yeah.
and it's like I went from never seeing fucking cocaine and never seeing drugs at that level to being like, oh, I'm in this.
Right in the middle.
Yeah. I'll see ya.
See you Tuesday.
And then just going. And like, I never get to a point where it was a problem.
Yeah.
But it was
there.
It was there, and it was impeding my life in some kind of ways.
So you
And,
could
like,
kind of go and take that character and be like, oh,
Yeah.
let's go there if I went there,
and, like,
you know?
and I obviously fictionalized like some of like the very dark places of Jake's life. I mean, I got low, but I never got that low to the point where it's like, you know, he's thinking about taking his life. And
When he
but I
wakes
mean,
up though in that morning and like,
we've all been there.
it was
We've all been
so
there out
good.
of a
The way you
blackout.
wrote that, the way he felt when he got up, I was like, dude, I've been there.
Everybody.
And then the call comes in and
Yeah.
she's,
You're like,
and
who the
it
fuck is
just
this?
like, it all happened.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
and that was his.
Yeah, to like, I don't really know how I pieced that all together. I don't want to say like I blacked out and like things happened, but like it was truly, yeah. I woke up 2 weeks later and I had a book written. It was one of those things where I would go on these walks with Reggie in the morning and I would leave my phone. Like right in my apartment, and I would just be like going on a walk. And those walks would turn into like an hour and a half.
Would you have those conversations like of the
It was just in
exact
my head.
words that you were gonna write?
Yeah.
Well,
down?
that's awesome.
So
That's what I was
would
confused. I'm like, how
basically
did
be
he
I
get
would
these
basically
ideas
go
on
like,
paper?
okay, well, where is he gonna go now? Like, how is it gonna happen? Like this, and I'd just basically be having a conversation with myself, but I did it without a phone. I did it without like any distractions, and I just like, because I was moving forward, because I was watching Reg, and like I wasn't interacting with any other humans or having to have a conversation, I was just legitimately able to write this book in my head. And then I would come home and I'd be like, fuck, boom, get it out. That's awesome. Or like, you know, if I did have a phone when I was like on a lunch walk or something, I would just like take notes and then get home and write. And then I finished that in the journal. It's actually kind of funny. I just had this one massive writing block. It was just like, phoom. It was right after Christmas a couple of years ago. And I was like 3/4 of the way, maybe like 2/3 of the book was done. And then from Christmas to the first day of the year, I finished the whole fucking thing. I'm like, I'm ready, just like go. And just boom, put it all down. And I looked at my journal and I'm like, I just filled up.
That was like the Power Week.
Yeah.
Were there times where like you maybe wrote down a bunch and then the next day you went, and you erased a bunch of shit? Were there times where you're like, no?
So many times. I pivoted like, I think about like some of the endings I told you about, one of the endings that I had, and I don't want to, maybe in a year from now we can revisit that.
So you did have all
New
these.
video. Subscribe.
so
Click
hard.
the like button.
Like and
And
subscribe.
look at the wrong
But I did have a couple different endings. I had a couple different avenues, but I realized like how much I was living out Jake's story, because like I was going to my coach Tom. who,
Yeah, I could
like,
kinda get a
and,
feel
like,
of that,
every
too.
time I'd go to like chat with him or
It
catch
helped.
up with him, like people like, how much money you spend on lessons? I'm like, dude, I'm getting way more out of these lessons and just $150 an hour to fucking learn my golf swing. I'm actually like creating a character out of this too. And when I told Tom that like I wrote the book and he was like a big inspiration for it, he was like, oh. And I don't know if you go back to like my first podcast with him, he like gets almost like tearied up. And he's like, you never know when you're gonna like touch someone's life, and as a coach, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's fucking cool.
No, that
Like,
was
yeah.
for the book, like for him to just be talented at golf at a young age, just running off pure talent, you know, an ego,
Being a shitbag.
being an asshole, but then like later in life, like actually learning the golf swing and knowing the ins and outs of a swing and understanding
Not taking shortcuts.
like that was so, I mean, that was so well done. And the fact that you used the
Bravo.
coach as like a inspirational character, like
And
just
also like
great book.
For Jake's character to not rush the process either. Like you guys couldn't rush any process in coming back from what you did. Like it was like straight up, okay, I gotta walk with a walker. Do I want to fucking do this? No. Am I a man that I can fucking get up and do it? No. But I gotta carry my oxygen tank and I gotta do these things, or I gotta like try and write my name again, right? Like those without those small steps and those small incremental like moves forward, you're not going to get to where you're at right now. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to say with Jake's story is like, yeah, you got to hit the ball with your left hand.
That was cool, yeah. He didn't want to do it at first, but then he said, I just need to focus every time on doing that. I remember walking around my neighborhood. It's a little block. Just, if I could get around it once, maybe I could go twice, but it's hilly, it's up and down. I just remember doing those hills, and I'm like, I'm like just walking around the block of my house, which, you know, I've done a million times, and now I'm doing it at a whole nother level. I'm trying to like.
Now I need to walk around this block.
I need to take every step.
There,
Right. And that's what he kind of realized, you know, once he started getting coached and understanding, like, you just need to do the small things. Every little thing, every tiny little thing matters. Like, you can't look way far ahead. You just have to.
Even though you want to, like, I mean, I think that's where my brain always will go to, like 4 steps ahead. That it's like, no, come on back. But I also think I've embraced the way that my brain works that way. Like, it's just like, you know, I used to fight it for so long, but like creatively, that my brain's always working. It's just always doing something. So why not use it to a good use and write a fucking book? And like, so I don't know where it's gonna go, but it's been this journey has been fucking life-changing for me.
So happy for you, dude.
Yeah.
And I will say this, because I do want more Jake Stedman. You've now learned the process of this.
Yeah.
So obviously doing it for the first time, there was a lot of guessing and a lot of trial and error, but now, you know, you have the process, you know.
I've got a couple ideas for like
So it will be much easier this time around.
Randall. We'll go back to Randall someday.
I didn't want to throw that plug in, but you know,
What's that?
You catch me with Randall and the Giant Sandal. It's a kid's book about you know, overcoming bullies and friendship and yeah. So
I gotta get that one.
I got a couple of drafts. The newest draft, it's about teamwork at the end rather than scaring away the bully. So
Oh, good.
But yeah,
You have someone that you can bounce
so
out, you know, like, hey, read this.
That's a different episode.
Yeah,
Click the subscribe and then the link.
It's so. What's fucking cool is like also like my friends are reading my book. Like it's fucking sweet. Like it really is. Like it's just like a cool thing that, you know, that I had the book signing over here at Untold, and how many people from different parts of my life had a chance to come out and just be like, oh, dude, this was great. Like that's. Like, it's not like an ego thing. It's more of like, I'm just appreciative of the people who have been in my life.
It was great to see some of those people I hadn't seen in a while. And then when, you know, you bump into someone like, oh, how are you? Oh, well, did you read it? It was so good. Like, that was awesome.
Because
Sounds like a giant book club, like, you know?
Exactly. Well, I mean, I think this is what also like these podcasts have become. It's like, I want you to read the book so we can have a conversation about it. And like, you know, what did you take out of it? What did you like? And yeah, it helps market the book, but also I just feel like it's really cool to talk to somebody about it, or like or get people to read again. Like we're living in a society that, you know, we're all just scrolling on our phones, or we're watching 10-second videos, and you know, we share memes back and forth. I think our generation is getting better about, you know, opening up about who they are. And if you notice, like in the book, every guy has a different journey on how they're like fucking coming to grips with like who they are as a person. Like, you know, you got Jake's dad, who is like, it takes a very long time, and you never really know if he always gets all the way back. You got Jake, who's working on himself. You got Tom, the golf coach, who is kind of that older generation, but he has been through stuff with his son, and you know, Tom's son actually has dealt with that. He told me that, and when I told him that I wrote the book and I added it in there, he was like totally fine with it. And like, but you could see like how he was starting to really think differently about, you know, his persona and like who he was. And then you look at Jonesy's character, who is struggling with being the masculine like man in the house, and how does he get himself back? And so I think Bree is the only female character in the book, and like she just has to take on almost like that head of the household like feeling to it as well too, as part of her family. And I just don't think there's a lot of great resources for men out there to fucking talk about what they got going on. And I wanted to create something that could allow 3 people to sit in a room and have a fucking adult conversation about what it's like to be a human. And I hope a lot of guys read this. I hope a lot of, you know, people who maybe aren't like totally down the road on I've definitely been on some kind of like, not like spiritual journey, but like you just think about like your life a little bit more, and this book has helped me kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
And I think too, like that's why I feel like it was so good, because every character had like a real kind of little arc. Yeah, Jake's arc was the biggest one, but each character had its own little arc. Yeah, every time he had a dialogue with each one of those characters, it was like a big,
What's your kind of lasting like words to somebody who's watching this about overcoming something? Because you guys have both overcome not just like, you know, a rough couple days or losing a job. You've overcome fucking something that nearly took your life. And like, do you have any words that would like stick with people or any kind of message that you would give to somebody who might be going through something like this?
you want to hit it?
Yeah. Life isn't planned, and when things get tough, you gotta realize that there is a brighter side, and things will get better. And if you have that mindset and stick with it and make the situation better and better yourself, that's all you can really give. And you know, it's everything gets better. Again, from my situation, I almost died, and I thank God that I'm here and that I had the friends and the family to support me, and just keep moving forward. Never stop moving, because once you stopped, it's so hard to get going again.
Yeah, great points. I would just say, going through all that, if you go through something, just make sure, if you have family, that you stay close to them, that you keep your family in your life. Always be good to each other. You never know what's going to happen. One day someone could be here, the next day they could be gone. So anytime you're with someone you love, or you know, you can reach out to someone you love, just do it. Say the extra "I love you." Just be kind. You never know if you'll be that person in a hospital. You want your family there, so be nice.
Yeah.
Because in the end, that's all you have, and a support system is everything.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Both you guys, like, I love you both. Like, this is fucking.
Love you too, bro.
I'm so appreciative of like the fact that you guys want.
97.
Yeah, just the fact that A, you read the book, but also B, you've been so supportive and you're continuing to be there, and then like to have this like always memorialized into whatever. And like, I don't think we do. If there's any group of people who should like truly just be like, dude, I love you. Like, I mean, it should be us. Like, we've seen it all. We have seen it all. We've seen a lot of loss. We've seen a lot of death. You know, we've seen a lot of life too. Like, think of all the like the young kids that have like come into this like weird wolf pack of like people, right? So, no, it's just it is family, and you know, I hope that this book can, when other friend groups read it and other people read it, that they connect in some kind of way, because that's what community is. That's what people like coming together does. It just creates something that should be very special. And you know, I think what we have as friends, as a group, is fucking. I wouldn't change it for the world. So.